Tonight on News 5 Live, Attorney General Michael Perrafeet is the new Minister of National Security, taking over from John Saldivar. Earlier today, in a media interview, Saldivar took many questions and said he cannot recall the length of time during which he received campaign contributions from Durman. In the back and forth with Prime Minister Barrow, Briceño fires back, saying, "The ugly truth is that your name stink the road." The Supreme Court allows Lord Michael Ashcroft to join the Belize Peace Movement's redistricting challenge. A BDF soldier is lucky to survive an attempt made on his life. And a pair of wooden buildings in Hattieville is destroyed by fire. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Signing up for Smart's broadband got even better.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Tuesday, February 18th. I am Marlene Cuellar. In his first media appearance since being stripped of the spot of leader-elect of the UDP and resigning from cabinet last Thursday, Belmopan Area Representative John Saldivar today spoke on Love FM, but did not speak to the waiting press after the appearance. Saldivar was questioned about the Lev Derman scandal, as well as monies he received from the incarcerated fraudster dating back to 2013. The former Minister of National Security also addressed a number of issues, including his campaign against erstwhile Deputy Party Leader Patrick Faber, campaign contributions, his status within the United Democratic Party, and his way forward as a disgraced politician. There is plenty to take away from the lengthy conversation, but we'll begin with the receipt of funds from Derman 7 years ago. Now, in the text messages presented in the Utah court, Saldivar spoke of the usual monthly contributions of $25,000, asking for $50,000 for February and March. When pressed by the hosts, Saldivar said he could not recollect when the tranches ceased to come in on a monthly basis. He also said that the $25,000 was not a standard payout and that the monthly contributions fluctuated.
The contributions, as you have now seen from the testimony, were 6 years or so ago.
So those have not continued?
Of course not. Of course not.
Are you willing to say how much you received then? How much did you receive?
I can't recall. This person...
No, come on. I mean, can't recall.
No, man,
I mean,
let me
in
say...
terms of frequency,
you don't forget things like that.
No, man. Let me tell you this, Ernest. First of all, this issue about $25,000 a month. No, man. The man gave different amounts, varying amounts at varying
but
times.
how much was
that's not,
it's
not like I was
exchanged?
keeping. It's not like I was keeping notes. And what does that matter? The man was generous. There are many other generous business people around who give substantial amounts to different campaigns, including mine, and we are not under any obligation to disclose amongst or who.
And
we
that
can
is
talk about
what
that.
we need to do.
We can talk about that. We can talk about campaign financing laws and all of that. But at this point in time, we're not required to. So, to ask that sort of question,
you're not required to by law. But I think what Tanya is coming to us, as citizens of this country, we need our politicians, people like you, you need to be held to some responsibility.
But I will not be held to a standard that nobody else is being held to.
But why not?
So you're making that clear.
Okay.
No, I won't be held to a standard.
I
won't be held to a standard that nobody else is being held to.
We need to change those standards.
Exactly. And so we talk about it together, and we change it together. But you don't single me out to hold to a standard which nobody else
you
is
got
being
caught.
No, not got caught, because
you
got caught with what? You see, Ernesto, and this is the problem we're perpetuating.
Okay.
We're perpetuating that I did something wrong. Got caught with what? Everybody gets campaign contribution. Now, you coming back to Tanya's point about, first of all,
the character of the individual.
First of all, you were thinking that this was still happening. Of course not. This fellow, for instance, has been in jail since 2018. Okay, has been in jail since 2018. So obviously, yes. So obviously they can't be making any financial contributions to anybody. Second of all, the testimony has borne out that it was between 2013 and 2014. What was the state of this fellow's reputation and character at that time? That is what is important, because if we are going to be held accountable for what people turn out to be 6 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, then we have a serious jeopardy that we are placing our politicians in. I am saying that at the time that I received funds from him, he was
not of questionable character,
to my knowledge, to anybody's knowledge, to the special branch knowledge, to Interpol knowledge, to anybody's knowledge. Was he any person of questionable character? He was arrested in 2018.
In the Utah court, Jacob Kingston testified that he saw Derman hand bundles of cash to Saldivar during a visit to Belize. This morning, Saldivar admitted to accepting monies from Derman through Jacob Kingston as a proxy. But how those monthly dispersals made their way into the country without being flagged by the Customs Department remains a pertinent question. When asked by the host of the show how he was able to get the funds past the necessary clearances, Saldivar was sure to say that he did not travel with currency in excess of the prescribed amount. He also outlined 3 means through which those ill-gotten monies were handled.
How did that money get into Belize?
At various times, they would bring it. They would bring, or they would have their interests here in Belize.
Did you ever go at any time and pick up money and bring it yourself?
I think you have read the testimony. You have read the test.
No, I'm asking you. You're here
I am
now.
saying
What
to
I've
you,
read is that not important.
yes, man. But I am saying to you that I have received monies in the past. In the U.S. What I want to say categorically to anybody who has any imaginations in their head, that I have never traveled into this country or out of this country with more than the amount of cash that is to be declared. I have never done that.
That's so, 10,000 US.
That I have never done that.
But you've done that.
I have never traveled with more than the declared amount.
That's what I'm saying. You have traveled with $10,000 in cash.
Well, you can't travel. 10 has to be less than 10 according to the law.
Yeah, so you have done that.
I've traveled less than.
How did the rest enter the country?
Ernesto, you can travel with people. You can leave it, you can spend it in the U.S. And that gives me the opportunity to say this much. On one occasion, for instance, I bought equipment for my football team, for my sports organization, thousands of dollars. This is expensive, you know, and I want to talk a little bit about what I do in Belmopan and what I've done, not just with monies from this particular gentleman, but monies from all sorts of people who have helped me to build what I have built in Belmopan in terms
like
of
Mason, for instance.
Even if you say that, yes, he did give me money, and one thing about me, I haven't lied about that and about any of them. What I have said is that they have helped me, they have helped my community, and I am grateful. The work is there to be seen, what I have done with the money.
There's more from Saldivar coming up later in the newscast. There's a new political boss at the Ministry of National Security, where Attorney General Michael Parafit has been appointed as its substantive minister. As you know, Parafit is also a senator and has become sort of the government's spokesperson on a number of issues. The move comes amid a cabinet reshuffle in the wake of John Saldivar's resignation last Thursday and his removal as leader-elect. Elodia Aragon Jr. was immediately tapped by Prime Minister Barrett to head the day-to-day administration of that portfolio. However, Parafit comes in as the overall minister while also retaining his post as government's chief legal advisor. Earlier today, Parafit and Aragon met with the respective heads of the national security apparatus, including the CEOs for the police, BDF, and Coast Guard.
I'm still Attorney General and Minister for Legal Affairs. The Prime Minister, with the Honorable John Saldivar no longer being the Minister of National Security, it pleased the Prime Minister to appoint me Minister of National Security as well, with the day-to-day running of the ministry being done primarily by Minister Elodia Aragon Jr. So that will be the hierarchy in which we'll be operating. We met today with the different department heads, Commissioner of Police, Commandant of the Coast Guard, and General Ortega from the BDF, and along with the CEOs and forensics and the Chief of Defense Staff. So what we will be doing after this is setting up another meeting so they can fully brief me and bring me up to speed in addition to what they did today, so that I can be fully cognizant of all the issues within national security along with Minister Aragon. And then from there, we will decide on what strategies we will embark on, what strategies we will keep, what we need to improve on, and hopefully we can try new things in national security to make it even better.
The appointment of Michael Parafit as Minister of National Security was not the only change in cabinet. Minister of State Amar Figueroa moves up as the substantive minister responsible for the portfolios of fisheries, forestry, the environment, and sustainable development. These responsibilities were removed from Minister Godwin Hulse. Hulse now continues as the substantive minister responsible for the portfolios of agriculture and immigration. In respect of immigration, Beverly Williams remains as Minister of State with that responsibility. The Supreme Court this afternoon granted the application put forward on Monday by Senior Counsel Andrew Marshall-Ek on behalf of Lord Michael Ashcroft. Ashcroft will now be included as an interested party in the redistricting case of the Belize Peace Movement against the Elections and Boundaries Department. Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin ruled that Lord Ashcroft met the court's requirements in putting forth sufficient reasons why he should be added in the case. The CJ agreed that Lord Ashcroft is a citizen of Belize with substantive business interests here and that he intends to vote in the upcoming general elections were solid reasons why he should be added to the case. Lord Ashcroft, like the members of the Belize Peace Movement, wants to see the electoral divisions as equal as possible in the number of registered voters. Presently, there are some constituencies with as few as 3,000 voters, as opposed to others that have almost 3 times that number. As a result of his inclusion in the case, Lord Ashcroft will be allowed to make submissions and to provide evidence in support of the claim. Lord Ashcroft has also been given leave to apply to produce expert evidence in the case. Marshall-Ek explained to reporters following the ruling what kind of material the expert evidence may include.
This type of claim is not new or unique to Belize. It's happened elsewhere. In fact, it's ongoing in other parts of the world, and there's been a particular way of dealing with it. One, the expert studies the distribution, just as the Elections and Boundaries Commission should, and determine whether or not the districts as drawn meet the constitutional requirements. Once that analysis is done, then the next step is what needs to be done in order to bring it into compliance. And normally there's a range of possibilities. So it's about presenting all of that so that everybody fully appreciates just how malapportioned the divisions are and just what steps can be taken to correct it.
Sir, so is there a situation where the parliament increases in size to get more representatives to represent those the population?
No, the Constitution fixes the number of constituencies. It's fixed at 31 and it can't go below 28 without constitutional amendment. The redistricting is about making sure the divisions are drawn within those parameters to ensure that the effect of each vote is nearly as possible equal.
Attorney for the Belize Peace Movement, Arthur Saldivar, said that the expert evidence that Lord Ashcroft has offered to furnish in the case could only bolster the claimant's case. Saldivar also said that the expert evidence that Lord Ashcroft has offered to furnish in the case could bolster the case.
The affidavit that he has put forward intimates certain things that I believe inures to the benefit of the case. And should we have those experts come in, I think it's always good to have knowledgeable people on the issue, giving their expertise, the benefit of their expertise to the court. I believe that's where we need to go.
Mr. Saldivar, as a politician or a former politician yourself, sir, maybe you can shed some light on this particular issue of redistricting. We have conducted this exercise a few times before. I don't think we relied on any quote-unquote expert witness or testimony. Why is that necessary this time around?
Because what we did was not a comprehensive exercise in keeping with what the Constitution requires. What was done was that there was some gerrymandering of political borders to facilitate certain individuals who wanted to run in politics. In this particular instance, you are not looking to serve an individual or individuals, you're looking to address the needs and interests of the people of Belize as a whole, to ensure that democracy is given a chance to at least operate the way it should. And insofar as it relates to finances in politics, as we know, my namesake was on Love FM this morning, incriminating himself, I might add. And he was saying that he was doing this because of this large constituency that he's responsible for, of over 8,000 people. Now, it's sad that he would try to make all of them upon his accomplice in what he has done. But the truth of the matter is that when we redistrict and bring the constituencies within constitutional parameters, we mitigate the need for large finances in addressing the issues of the people because we give them more representation instead of less.
Saldivar said that a redistricting of subdivision exercise could result in some areas where there are small constituencies to be amalgamated, hence a few seats would be lost. In others, where there are large numbers of voters, a redistricting could likely cut those in half, creating additional seats. This decision would only come about, however, if the court rules that the Elections and Boundaries Department prompts the National Assembly to conduct a redistricting exercise. The National Assembly could then have to consider the proposal and, through its debate, determine how best the requirement of the Constitution can be met. The redistricting case resumes on March 6th, when disclosure of affidavits are expected to be presented. Minister Parafit also spoke about the Supreme Court decision to grant Lord Ashcroft's application to join the Belize peace movement in its legal challenge to have the government of Belize conduct a redistricting exercise prior to the November 2020 general elections. Ashcroft has committed to providing technical expertise in carrying out the exercise. Should there be a ruling compelling government to proceed with redistricting, Parafit says that all legal options will be exhausted, which includes appealing the matter at the Court of Appeal as well as the Caribbean Court of Justice.
It's a decision of the court. He wanted to be added as an interested party, so not as a claimant or a defendant, but an interested party only. The court decided that he should be added, and that's it. There's no turns on it really, other than he claims that he can bring expert experience and some level of expertise to the process to show why there should be redistricting, and if the court is minded to grant an order for redistricting, how you go about doing it. So we have to decide whether or not we want to accept that ruling, whether we want to appeal that ruling, and we will be making that decision in the coming days.
If the Supreme Court, however, rules that there must be a redistricting exercise to be held before the next general election is called, in your opinion, is there sufficient time to embark upon such an exercise, given the specific timeline that's before us?
Well, even if the Supreme Court were to grant the order to redistrict, we would have to see if we want to exercise our option to appeal to the Court of Appeal. And whichever party loses at the Court of Appeal may want to go to the apex court, which is the CCJ. So you're thinking about, if it goes all the way there, that almost puts you like August, September. To me, there would not be enough time. And let me remind you, Isani, that we wanted to do redistricting. It was the very same unions who told us that before you could redistrict, you have to go through a re-registration process. And that's what we went through before the ICJ. So, in my view, we're at a point where it just wouldn't be practical to go through a redistricting exercise. But the court is the court. And if they tell us that we have to do that, then we will have to do that once we have exercised all our rights in all the courts that are available to us.
There's much more news after the break, so stay tuned.
Hello, friends. This is
A planned event for this weekend in the Belmopan constituency has been postponed, and Saldivar is no longer in cabinet, and neither is the newly elected leader of the United Democratic Party. So what is John Saldivar's status within the UDP? After all, a majority of area representatives, standard bearers and their delegates voted for the Belmopan area rep in a crushing defeat of Patrick Faber on February 9th.
Where are you with the party situation with the UDP? Where are you?
It's not necessarily where I am, it's where the party is. And so at this point, the party is trying to find its way forward, and I will be a part of whatever solution the party is able to find.
But
I think we can leave it at that for now until the party decides on its way forward.
Yeah, you still have to meet and find out,
yes,
because it's anybody's guess. The questions are like, will there be elections? How soon? Is it going to happen? Who will be the new leader? And that has
all
to be
of that
discussed,
is left to be discussed, and so I wouldn't want to preempt what my party would do. But I stand to play whatever role my party would want to see me play moving forward.
How confident are you about the general elections being won by the UDP?
I have no doubt that the UDP will win the next election. I have no doubt that we will recover from this and we are going to defeat the People's United Party. That I have no doubt. And again, the media might have a perception, but the people out there on the ground have a different idea.
In John Saldivar's attempt at explaining why he chose to lie about receiving the monies from Dermond, he stopped short of divulging the details of that cabinet meeting on January 14th. When Saldivar was put through the ringer and asked what he meant by saying that his cabinet colleagues would have been, quote, demoralized and exposed, unquote, he was equally guarded in his response.
I will not discuss the happenings in
No, I don't want you to discuss that. But you did say,
except to say
that obviously there is a
so read what I have said.
Yes, you said here, you did it because I would have been moved from cabinet and I would have had to withdraw from the race. Patrick Faber would have been declared the winner, and that would have left all of my colleagues demoralized and exposed. What did you mean by that?
Demoralized and exposed? Yeah. That's what I meant by it.
That Faber was obviously the wrong person.
I am not going to get into that discussion.
I don't want the discussion.
I think, Ernesto, people understand what I have said.
Which people?
And I will not open any wounds with respect to myself and my colleague. I have made my statement. I believe that what would have happened had I stepped back would have been detrimental to my colleagues and to my party. I still hold that. And that's the end of the story. I will not...
No, but I mention that because it's not the end of the story. Because right now, Belize is in limbo. Their leaders, they don't...
We still have a prime minister.
And I have to come back to this, and you mentioned that the public's opinion. But the public right now, and all over, is what's going to happen next? So what's the situation? You will obviously still run for...
I have told you, and you will not get it out of me. I'm waiting for my party to decide on the way forward.
But this is for the future of our country.
So I'm waiting for my party.
And you are an elected official who needs to disclose to the people what you think. You want to be the leader of Belize.
But
you want
Ernesto,
to be the next prime minister.
Ernesto, it hardly
This is
matters,
not about your party.
Right,
now.
it hardly matters at this time what I want, because it has to be what my party wants. And so I am waiting, and you will not get me to move from that position.
Okay.
I am waiting for my party to decide how they will move forward.
There's more news after the break, so stay tuned. Prime Minister Barrow, in a terse response to a letter written by opposition leader John Briceño, has indicated that government will appeal the decision of the Supreme Court, where Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin ruled the government illegally spent over $1 billion in public funds. This evening, Attorney General Michael Parafit confirmed that instructions have already been put forward to have the decision challenged in the appellate court. He says the government is prepared to go as far as the CCJ to prove that the Constitution allows for government to proceed with supplemental budgets.
We have already given instructions for leave to appeal and for appeal the matter, because we believe that when the Chief Justice said that we needed to amend the Constitution to allow for retroactive spending in terms of supplementary budgets, we believe that the Constitution clearly states that you are allowed to do that. And we believe that he erred in that fashion. And so we want to have the Court of Appeal rule in our favor, and if not, then maybe even the Apex Court rule in our favor, that the Constitution does allow for supplemental budgets.
There's been a back and forth between Prime Minister Barrow and the leader of the opposition. The last salvo today came from John Briceño in response to Monday's letter from the Prime Minister. In his February 18th letter, Briceño tells Barrow, quote, "The ugly truth is that your name stink the road," unquote. The political leaders exchanged harsh words through letters, the first being demands by Briceño regarding unconstitutional and criminal public spending and unlawful contracts. Briceño's darting words are a response to the Prime Minister's February 7th letter, in which Barrow takes a personal tone with Briceño, telling the opposition leader, quote, "If you actually meant to be taken seriously, I tell you now that, no doubt fittingly, you are on a fool's errand," unquote. Briceño calls out Barrow, telling the outgoing Prime Minister that his letter is, quote, "full of personal attacks and big words, which by now I would have thought you would have realized impresses no one but the person you see in the mirror. Your response for a man who holds the office of Prime Minister is a disservice to the people of Belize," unquote. In his original letter, Briceño tells Barrow that the Chief Justice ruled that all the Supplementary Appropriations Acts which were taken to the National Assembly covering the period 2004 to 2018 were unconstitutional, and as such, the profligate spending under Barrow's leadership was illegal and most likely corrupt. The PM's view is that all supplementary appropriations were fully debated and overwhelmingly approved by Parliament during his tenure as Minister of Finance. But Briceño points out that the PUP did not support those bills, which were passed with only support from the government. Briceño then tells Barrow that, quote, "The ugly truth is that in all your diatribe, the fact remains that you have become the very thing you swore not to tolerate. You, Mr. Prime Minister, are the greatest hypocrite of them all," unquote. Briceño ends his letter telling Barrow that he has the stain and stench of being the only Prime Minister of Belize that has been found by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to have contravened the Constitution. The National Trade Union Congress of Belize, as well as the People's United Party, are holding separate demonstrations in Belize City in the days ahead. The NTUCB will be mobilizing its membership on Thursday and will be taking to the streets of the old capital, where they will demand that government honors a list of demands ahead of the next general elections. While the umbrella organization is preparing to protest, the opposition People's United Party has also announced that it will be demonstrating on Sunday. When asked for his thoughts on both planned rallies, Parafit says that the NTUCB's protest is unnecessary, since it could have been ironed out with a simple meeting. As for the PUP's protest, he says that they were anticipating that the unions would come on board in a show of strength in numbers.
People are free to gather and unionize, so to speak, and even demonstrate. We live in a democracy and a free society. You're allowed to do that. It was curious that they rejected the PUP's offer to march with the PUP. But even with all of that, I believe that what they spelled out in their press conference could have been addressed with a simple meeting. In terms of UNCAP, just UNCAP. I wrote to them, I told them that the final report needs to come out. The United Nations has said that needs to come out before we embark on any projects or a reconstitution of the committee. I told them as well that I wrote to the UN ODC in Vienna, Austria. They responded saying that the final report should be out within 30 days from February 6th. So all I was trying to tell them is that let's wait for the final report. When we get the final report, then we can convene the committee, and from there we can start to prioritize which of the recommendations made by the UN that we want to implement. So I don't think that the march was necessary, but they are free to march if that's what they want to do.
Your thoughts on the PUP holding its own protest on Sunday?
I think the PUP was hoping to march with the NTUCB so they look like they could command a crowd. The PUP is in no moral position to march against the UDP or hold any kind of demonstration. That's just my opinion.
One of the NTUCB's demands is an immediate launch of an independent investigation into alleged wrongdoing by former Minister of National Security John Saldivar and all other named public officials, public servants, and individuals. The demonstration leaves Constitution Park at 10 o'clock and ends at Memorial Park for final remarks. President of the NTUCB, Marvin Mora, says that no longer can the country have crucial governance issues not properly addressed.
As representatives of workers across the land, we cannot continue to sit and view these little situations, these issues that we know exist, but that for some reason or the other, we have not been able to pin down and address properly, to continue to fester. Our deliberations has led us to understand the importance of the NTUCB putting together a show of support in favor of our positions. We are aware that in the meantime, we will have to have some open conversations with the government, administration obviously currently sitting in power, but also we would have to be open to meet with the opposition and other interested groups.
Turning to crime, Wayne Perry was days away from starting his career as a soldier in the Belize Defense Force. But on Monday afternoon, he was shot multiple times as he rode from his aunt to his house on Violet Lane in Belize City. Perry's family believes it was a case of mistaken identity since the 18-year-old did not have any problems with the law or anyone. His parents told News 5's Dwayne Moody that he will now be transferred to the medical facility at the BDF compound at Price Barracks.
Wayne Perry is an 18-year-old resident of Violet Lane in the St. Martin de Porres area. He recently completed the recruit training as part of intake number 65 of the Belize Defense Force and was to take up a posting at the military camp in Kyle District on February 24th. But that posting has been delayed because on the afternoon of February 17th, he was shot multiple times as he rode his bicycle home. In fact, Wayne was just a property away from his house when one of two men on a motorcycle unleashed a barrage of bullets in his direction.
As I sit down to eat, I heard pow, 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 like a whole barrage of bullets out here. After when I heard that, a young lady ran. He said, Miss Cheryl, come. He said, your son Wayne. I said, my son Wayne. I said, but my son no fool it nobody. My son no one gangbang and my son another type of people. They say, why they want shot my son? I'm so confused. I never know what to do. When I look, I see my son running at the yard, the whole back of my belly, they bleed, the foot, they bleed. And I said, he said, Mommy, I no get shot. I said, yes, Wayne, you get shot. I could even find my phone to even call my husband. You know.
So he was right outside the house?
Right outside at this gate right here, and I was in the living room. Right out here. And I'm in the living room and I hear all the mirror in my room shatter and all with the effects of the bullet.
24 hours later, the family is still in disbelief, perplexed as to why anyone would target Wayne. The Perrys have been living in that area for decades as one of the first families to set up a residence in the area. Anthony Perry says that in all the years he has been living there, he and his family have been respected. They are not caught up in the criminal justice system and are God-fearing.
No. Think about violate this yard, or everybody think about come for violate our house. Anybody at all, because we are working people. We don't do people nothing. We don't got time for that. You understand? And my man was shocked. She like, that we in. She said that dynamite, but when she come out and she said my son run through the yard, the whole side. She said, but Tony, that we in and shot. I like, how they are shot? We ain't not got nothing to do with people. What happened? She the ball on the phone. I have left from work, correct? I said, this not work. That's not my son. Not only that, they my mind, it's not my son. You sure that my son? They say yes. I said, well, I need to go.
And he never complained of having any problem with anybody?
No, he don't have no problem with nobody. And he stay right inside.
It is believed that surveillance cameras along Mahogany Street and then at its junction with Tibu Street may have captured as Wayne rode his bicycle from his aunt's house to Violet Street. While he was trailed by the duo on the motorcycle, it is believed that the incident is a case of mistaken identity.
I couldn't even sleep last night. Because I said, why would somebody want to kill my son when my son is not the type of person that is related to any street violence or anything like that? So I want to know what happened to the guys nowadays. I think they need to find Jesus. I think they need to find Jesus because Jesus is the only way to restore for their life. As what I say, and I tell everybody, me no want no revenge, nor nothing. Me left everything to God. Make God be in control. I don't want to fight fire with fire. God says, and He know who do it. So left them, make God take control of them.
Luckily, Wayne was not gravely injured. According to his parents, he will be discharged from the KHMH and continue his treatment at the medical facility on the military base at Price Barracks until he is fit to take up his posting.
Oh, he's supposed to go to posting on Monday.
Monday is supposed to report.
They be there for take him to their hospital up there in Ladyville.
What's his condition? What are the doctors saying?
Right now, when we first reached to the hospital, he was stable, and we thank God for that. And then after, when we get to find out that all the tests was okay, so we thank God again for that. And right now we speak, they are taking him from there to BDF to take care of him for the rest of the time till he could get recovering.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
There was a fire around 2:30 this afternoon in Hattieville. The blaze destroyed 3 small wooden structures. Fire officials managed to contain the blaze before it spread to nearby homes. An investigation is ongoing into what caused the fire and will have the official report later this week. Today, villagers on the scene said that they suspect the fire started inside a small snack shop that was situated on the property. A resident says that she was awakened by noises outside, and that is when she saw her uncle's place on fire.
I wake up to the sound of this lamppost here, the sparks and the bus, and they make one lot of loud noise. When I run outside, I manage to haul on and close, I run outside and I look there, I see the Lee shop in a fire, the house beside it, the catch, and then it come towards my uncle next house. So when I run out with nothing because I said the only thing I could do to save my life. After that, the house start catch, the fire truck come a little while after. I couldn't save nothing, everything burnt down.
Now, do you have any idea what may have caused this fire? I understand one of it, a part of the building was served as a shop.
Yeah, well, the young lady had a fast food shop there. I'm not sure what transpired between, because she sell between 12 and 1 to the little kids there from the school. I really don't know what transpired. Maybe if I get something on in there, I don't know, accident do happen. We can't do nothing about it, it don't happen. That's as far as I know.
So it's a shop and a home that was here, or is it one building split in two?
It was a little shop, then my uncle had another little building onto the shop. Then they had a separate 2-bedroom house in the yard. Well, everything burned to the ground.
Do you know how many persons lived here?
Well, actually, the young lady only come do business, then she go home at night. You know, live front here. My uncle, he used to live here. I think from November, he moved out and he did a Kayo side. He know the side again. So nobody never live in the house. But his son, they can check on it every now and then, like every week.
So your uncle had property, I mean...
He left all the goods there in there, he left all the stuff in there. He only make carry clothes there, he never carry nothing much.
Everything...
All was in the house, but everything destroyed.
And now, for persons who may speculate that maybe it's an arson, something gone bad, you would say you didn't see anything as far as that?
No, man, I don't think nobody want to do that. No, in the broad daylight front of the police station like that. Well, you can't say what happened front of the station now, but nobody now just do that, man. Nobody now bother my uncle place like that.
Did you fear that maybe the fire would move over to your property since it's so close?
Honestly, I had a big fear because it catch this small structure in front of me here, so they had to try and knock this down in order for, blow up on the house. And then the tree behind the house catch fire. So I did get scared.
There was another fire earlier today, this time in St. Bite Village in southern Belize, and as many as 12 persons were displaced. Reports are that a fire broke out at a 10-room barracks in the village and flames quickly engulfed the building. Fire officials from Placencia responded to the scene of the fire, but by that time the blaze By that time, the property was already destroyed. Fortunately, no one was inside at the time, but the occupants lost everything. Our reports say that another small wooden house located next door to the barracks may have been destroyed. The cause of the fire is not known at this time. When we come back, the BCVI fills the void for eye care services in the health sector.
Are you ready?
Over the weekend, a visiting team from the U.S. treated hundreds in need of eye care. The Belize Council for Visually Impaired has been filling the void in the health sector as it relates to persons who cannot afford or get treatment at private health care institutions. With the number of persons losing their vision due to diabetes and other conditions, the BCVI has been assisting thousands. Here is News 5's Dwayne Moody.
Your eyes are an important part of your health and should be checked as often as needed to ensure that your vision is at its optimum at every stage of your life. That kind of healthcare services, at least in Belize, is not available as part of the public healthcare system. In fact, it is mostly carried out by optometrists and ophthalmologists at private health institutions and is not affordable for low-income families. There are a number of healthcare issues when it comes to the eye, and in the past few years, unchecked diabetes is severely affecting vision.
And it's one of the least known about complications. So we have patients that come into our clinic for a regular eye exam because they're not seeing well, and it's actually our ophthalmologist that tells them, you have diabetic retinopathy, and the patient doesn't even know they have diabetes. So it's a nationwide health epidemic, and if you're not controlling your diabetes, you will develop retinopathy. You will lose your vision. We have a patient as young as 37 years old who is totally blind because he did not take care of himself and didn't get the proper nutritional support or healthcare support at the primary level to prevent vision loss.
The Belize Council for the Visually Impaired for almost 4 decades has been providing eye care services to Belizeans nationwide. On a yearly basis, over 20,000 persons access its facilities across the country, and a small contribution is accepted in return for the services.
We do eye screening throughout the year, every day, every weekday, and through our clinics throughout the country, we identify patients who need specialist care. Now, there is no surgeon in the entire country in the public sector. We have an ophthalmologist, a specialist who can examine patients, and what she does is refer these patients for the visiting teams coming in. When we started, it was strictly international funding. Over the years, we have become completely self-sustainable, and that really has to do with the people accessing the service and the team that we have on the ground. So we do have fees for services. You'll pay $10 to see the optometrist, $20 to see the specialist. We do have an assistance program for patients who can't afford it.
Every month, there is a team of doctors who visit with the BCVI to provide specialized services to persons needing advanced eye care procedures. Through the Mark Jaden Project, a charitable foundation from the U.S., a team of cataract surgeons, retinal specialists, glaucoma specialists, and even optometrists have visited Belize. They go around the world, but mostly in the Caribbean as well as Central and South American countries, to provide the best eye care services free of cost. Dr. Zachary Segal is from Med Eye Associates in Miami and is the spokesperson for the team. In this, their second visit, he says there are a number of patients who received medical procedures.
We have physicians that deal with retina problems, glaucoma problems, cataract problems, glasses problems as well. And so when we come down here and we bring our team, we are very well capable of handling the most prevalent problems that people face. Cataracts being one of them, glaucoma being a big issue, and then of course retina problems, which you see in many patients with diabetes. Diabetes is a problem that's ravaging the entire world, not just one country here or there.
While everyone develops cataract as they age, the condition is compounded by severe glaucoma and diabetic retinopathy. Those patients will need further surgical care to stem the progress of their eye disease or illness. And as we found out, some patients are scared about taking a surgery and for that reason have been living with various eye conditions for years. Others were ready for their treatment.
I've known that I have it for about 4 years now, but it wasn't ready yet for me to do my surgery. When I'm watching TV, my eyes would get blurred, or if I'm reading, my eyes start getting blurred. I can't see the letters properly, and so I knew something was wrong. So I was told that I have cataracts from then. So it's been about 4 years, but it wasn't ready yet.
You were ready for a procedure?
Long time.
I didn't want to take it because I was scared. But I talked to some friends that already take it, and they said it's easy. I was thinking, I used to think that they will take out my eyes, right? Nurse, I spoke to Nurse Buckley, and she told me that no, they won't take out your eyes. And she started laughing, and I laughed too. He said, it's just 20 minutes, he said, and you're free to go. And that's what happened this morning. I got my surgery, and I'm glad about it. And I would advise anybody who got cataract, get it in surgery, because it's nothing and that will be like a pain or something. It's just like when you're ticklishing your eyes.
But what happens in the case of an emergency, for example, a surgical procedure that cannot be done at the BCVI? Those persons are referred to a private institution because the public healthcare system does not have the capacity or the human resources to address these cases. Carla Ayers Musa says that there is a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Health, and most referrals are made to the BCVI. In that same vein, she admits that investment by GOB is needed in human resources for specialized treatment.
I think that the government has a huge role to play in this, because really the problem in eye care right now is that there's zero service in the government sector. So all the national, or I should say non-private eye care is being provided by an NGO, by BCVI. So with our limited resources, we're not able to send people away as we please to train to become optometrists or become ophthalmologists.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The Ministry of Health says that the report circulating on Facebook about a suspected case of COVID-19 in Belize is not true. Today, the ministry clarified the rumors of a suspected case of the virus in Dangriga. It says, quote, Belize remains free of any case of COVID-19, and there is no suspected case at this time in the country, unquote. In the release, the ministry noted that 3 Belizeans were investigated based on specific epidemiological information gathered upon re-entry into Belize, and they are being checked on by the health department daily. Ministry of Health says that one of the individuals was swabbed and the lab test was positive for a specific strain of the common flu virus that is currently in circulation in Belize. The ministry reiterates that all investigations are being followed and monitored for up to 14 days before they're cleared from the surveillance system. Coming up after the break, a blueprint to restore citizen security is unveiled.
What makes our team different from the other?
Restore Belize today unveiled its blueprint to deal with crime and violence and restore citizen security. According to the organization, the plan was devised after consultations with the relevant stakeholders. The strategy has two approaches, but Restore Belize says the key is through constant communication. Here's News 5's Hippolyte Novello.
Restore Belize has launched an initiative to restore citizen security through a strategic policy and plan. Drafted in 2019, the policy and plan takes into consideration the input of a broad group of stakeholders, including civil society, the opposition, and various government agencies that are key in citizen security actions. The goal of the policy is to respond to crime and violence in a society in an effective and efficient manner.
The plan actually is a blueprint, a map, it's a road map for how we can take what we are doing and increase the impact of it. And so we have two pathways in the plan. The first pathway is what programs are the most essential for achieving citizen security. And it is based on an understanding of what we talk about when we talk about citizen security, which is we're talking about everything that contributes from birth to the nurturing and molding of law-abiding and productive citizens. So we focus on all those programs from childhood through to adulthood, but then we also focus on pathway 2, which is about behavior. And it's about behavior in decision making, it's about behavior in how we govern.
The policy is designed in such a way to assist individuals and communities whose sense of citizen security is most affected by crime and violence. A key factor to the plan is constant communication among stakeholders.
A big part of the plan is to communicate with everyone, with the whole of society about what is citizen security. it's not just what's happening on the streets. And once we communicate that, then it changes people's understanding of what success looks like and what solutions look like and what our realistic expectations can be. Okay. So we know that we need short-term solutions, but we also need long-term commitment.
The draft policy describes citizen security as the outcome of other deprivations, vulnerabilities and lack of freedoms, the convergence of which fuels crime and violence and creates a broad perception of insecurity.
The other part is that we've introduced additional theoretical frameworks that are accepted in discussions about violent crime as part of the solution. So we talk about the need for trauma-informed care, for understanding the role of trauma in violence and the need to heal trauma, to heal and change a violent society. We're also introducing the concept of complex problems, and that has an implication for how we make decisions. And what it's saying is that basically we need to be much more flexible about about how we make decisions, and we need to be much more responsive to the dynamics of the situation of violence and crime and poverty.
Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, good night.